Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video. In this video, we are checking out my boy Sporting Logically. He made a video on this Jrue Holiday and Anfernee Simons trade. We're gonna go ahead and check it out. I'm curious to see what he thinks about it.
The strangest move of the
I'm trying to
NBA
learn more
offseason so far is here, as the Boston Celtics have traded Jrue Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers for Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round
Yes, sir. This happened last night,
Let's talk
y'all.
about this deal for the Celtics. We knew coming into the offseason that they would likely look to shed some salary this offseason. This is a team that was going to be incredibly expensive. You've got new owners coming in, and Jason Tatum just tore his Achilles, so it's pretty obvious they're not going to be able to win big in the East next year, even in a compromised Eastern Conference with so many.
I don't think they're even going to be like a top 5 team.
Involved, a very
I don't.
Conference. It's still pretty clear the Celtics are not going to be able to win a title next year without Jason Tatum. So there's no real point in having the roster be as expensive as it is. And so they're looking to move not just Jrue Holiday, but various pieces on their roster. We're talking about Kristaps Porzingis, even someone like Sam Hauser. All these guys are going to be able to help them save so much money on their payroll. And the concept was, let's take a year off, basically. Let's get rid of some salary. Let's wait for Jason Tatum to come back from injury and then really try and compete the following season. There have also been some rumors that they're getting some really crazy offers for guys like Jaylen Brown and Derek.
That might be the situation that the Pacers are in. I'm not going to lie. We might be looking at next season like we just got to get through next season, y'all. We got to get to 2026, 27 season, man, because, bro, I don't know what we're going to do without Hallie, y'all. Y'all think we can still make a push or not? You guys got to let me know in the comments, man.
White, but so far they have resisted those offers and don't look to be going that far into a actual rebuild, and more so just a retool for one season. Having said all those things, I'm pretty surprised by this Jrue Holiday trade, because given the financial situation with the Celtics, the Tatum injury, there's a bunch of stuff happening here. We all kind of knew that Jrue Holiday was going to be available and probably get traded. I had an idea in my mind of what a Jrue Holiday trade would look like, and it just wasn't this. And it's pretty strange to say that what is essentially a salary dump for the Celtics is a win for them, but given their goals this offseason, given the direction that they're going in, this is absolutely a positive, really positive trade for the Boston Celtics. When you look at his contract over the next couple of seasons, the contract the Celtics just signed him to, by the way, last year, he's got 3 years left on his deal.
Wow, look, I didn't know this dude had that big of a contract. I'm not gonna lie. I did not know Jrue Holiday was making this type of money. My God, it makes sense why they traded, bro. Yeah, they clearing up a ton of money. Oh my Lord, you guys see this? Holy.
Making $33, $35, and $37 million. That last year being a player option. And Jrue Holiday just turned 35 years old, and he hasn't always been the most... He's 35
making this money? Oh, nah, bruh. This dude was fleecing the Celtics. I ain't gonna lie, Jrue Holiday's a solid player, but I ain't paying $30 million for him.
Durable guy throughout his career. And frankly, I thought the Celtics were going to have to like attach something to his contract to get a team to take him a deal, but they actually got good stuff in return for Jrue Holiday. If you compare the Holiday contract to someone like Kristaps Porzingis, it would presumably be much easier to move Holiday rather than Porzingis because he has an expiring contract. It doesn't have multiple years left on his deal. Although on the floor, Holiday's more helpful than Porzingis, and even though it's not a great contest, Holiday has been more consistently durable. I still thought that they would have to trade something with Holiday to get rid of him, whereas Porzingis might just be a straight up salary dump because of the expiring contract. But not only did the Celtics get rid of the Holiday contract immediately because Anfernee Simons is an expiring contract going into next year, but they also could flip Simons at the deadline if they wanted to. They get 2 second-round picks, or they could just re-sign Anfernee Simons and have gotten much younger, added some scoring, and again, not...
Bro, they have so many like capabilities with this trade. They definitely won this trade. There's no option. I'm not lying, bro. Come on, bro. They fleeced Portland. They're gonna get Simons in. They could end up trading him if he doesn't perform how they want him to. And if they're liking how he's playing, they're just gonna extend him, bro. They just gained $30 million. I don't know how much Simons' contract is right now. It can't be anywhere close to $30 million, bro. No chance.
Not had to attach an asset to Jrue Holiday to get rid of him in the first place. In this new kind of landscape in the NBA where teams are looking to shed salary, everybody's afraid of the second apron, I just assumed that a contract as big as Holiday's at 35 years old with multiple years left with a player option at the end of it would have required the Celtics to give up something. And obviously, I understand the value of Jrue Holiday. He was a critical part of the Celtics winning an NBA title. This one just surprised me. I would have thought that the trade would have looked something more like this on screen if the Celtics did end.
No, bro, this dude thinks Rob Williams was finna go back to Boston. Matisse Thybulle. Honestly, the if the Celtics were to get those two guys, I ain't gonna lie, that trade is not worth it. See, I don't know if Boston wins that trade if this is what goes down. I don't know.
End up moving on from Holiday. So given all those things, I'm going to give the Celtics an A- for this deal. I think it's really good value.
Bro.
Simons is an interesting piece for them, and I certainly don't think they're done making moves, but this is a really good step one. So what does that mean for the Trailblazers part in all this? Well, I actually think it's pretty underrated how good the Trailblazers were last year. People really weren't paying all that much attention to them, but with a really young core, some of those guys stepped forward and developed, they almost made the play-in in a tough Western Conference last year, and clearly they're looking to make the next step and see Jrue Holiday as that piece. But as I mentioned in the Celtics section, this is a pretty strange move. We know that Anfernee Simons has been on the trade block for years. It seems like every single season for the last couple of years, I've had to talk about a trade rumor involving Anfernee Simons going to the Orlando Magic. He's been pretty available for years now. And Holiday, if he plays, is a really great addition with his defense and his veteran presence for all these young guys that they have. But really, I have two main issues with the trade for Portland. One, this is a lot of faith and a lot of pressure on guys like Scoot Henderson on this roster. They have a bunch of really good young players. Denny had a good season. Shaedon Sharp's really good. Scoot was better, although that's not saying much after a disastrous rookie season. And getting rid of Anfernee Simons tells me that they have a lot of faith in specifically Scoot, but also the rest of the young players on the roster to really improve and be much better. Because even though Simons has been extremely available, he's a good player. He can shoot. That shooting and spacing is a pretty underrated aspect of how much that means to this Trailblazers roster. And to just assume that getting rid of Scoot and then bringing in such a defensive-minded player in Holiday is going to be a positive for Portland,
yeah, bro,
is a pretty big.
Their defense is gonna be through the roof better, bro. Just having Jrue Holiday on your team, it automatically improves your defense by like 3 levels, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm assuming, like he's saying right here, like, is their first scoring option Scoot Henderson now? Like, to me, that doesn't seem like, you can't say Scoot Henderson is your number 1 scoring option, but and expect to go anywhere with that. But hey, this team's young. I don't know. Maybe Scoot could have a breakout season. I don't know. There's a lot of questionable things here for Portland. I'm not gonna lie.
Leap in my opinion, because one, you're assuming that Jrue Holiday is actually going to play, and two, you're kind of discounting how important Simons was to the team, and two, the contract. I have an issue with the contract that the Trailblazers just took on and what they sent out in exchange for the deal. I've already mentioned in the previous section, I felt like they probably would have gotten an asset. I thought the trade would have looked something like this if they did take on Jrue Holiday, and I think it's distinctly possible that over the next couple of seasons they're paying a 35-year-old mid-$30 million per year for a guy that just doesn't really play all that much, and when he plays is impactful, but maybe isn't a fantastic fit with the rest of the roster. And for a team that's clearly looking to take a step forward next season, I can understand the value of adding Jrue Holiday. It just confuses me why that move involved letting go of someone like Anfernee Simons, unless they just really don't like his fit long term, and of course the expiring contract nature of that. But you added a guy in Jrue Holiday that's got an expensive contract for the next couple of seasons, so I don't understand how it's important and helpful that you got rid of someone that was on an expiring.
Exactly.
And it's distinctly possible that this works out really well for Portland because Jrue Holiday's good, maybe he's really healthy, but it's just a strange deal, and I would give them a B- grade. And frankly, the only reason why it's not lower is just because we've seen the impact that Jrue Holiday can have on winning at multiple different places now, and I don't want to be that kind of wrong by giving this like a C- or a D grade, because Jrue Holiday can still be really, really good and absolutely worth that contract if he's healthy and he plays. But almost more interesting than any of those things is what this trade potentially means moving forward for each of these teams, because we know that the Celtics are still looking. Like Shams said this in his article, other people have said this, the Celtics are definitely still evaluating the rest of the roster, and I would not be shocked if a team like the Rockets, for example, has this crazy offer out there for Jaylen Brown as someone that they want to bring in alongside Kevin Durant.
That would be, if you're a Houston fan, that's the ideal scenario. Houston needs one more piece, and I think that they could be crazy good, but I think until they get that final piece, they're not going to be nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Still got plenty of pieces.
Bringing in JB Durant would be crazy.
We know that Ime Udoka has a past history with Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics, especially when they're getting back guys like Anfernee Simons that kind of gear a little bit even younger than I would have thought that they would be kind of going towards as they figure out what to do in the post-Jason Tatum era here. This is a really, really interesting return as it relates to Jaylen Brown or possible other trades on this roster, maybe even someone like Derek White, where they really just try and add a bunch of assets. Maybe they re-sign Anfernee Simons in the offseason, and they have this whole completely different team by the time that Tatum comes back. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on Boston, and I'm keeping an eye on Portland, because trading for someone like Jrue Holiday, to me, tells me that they are more ready to make this big leap next year than maybe most people expected, and that could potentially involve getting rid of someone like Jeremy Grant. It could involve putting together a couple of these young players in a trade package to get some kind of start. It's clear
That's
that
what I'm
Portland
saying, bro.
is tired of winning, 30-something games or less every.
They need that scoring option. You know what I mean? I can't trust Scoot Henderson or DeAndre Ayton. Like, come on, boys. I don't think, if you want to be a good team in this league, you gotta have that guy that can score, bro. And right now they don't got that. So possibly, hey, he just said it. Put together a trade package with a ton of your young players. Go after a star guard that's gonna score you points. That's exactly what you got to do, man.
Every single season over the last couple of
In
years.
Portland's scenario,
really
that's the ideal
not
thing to do.
necessarily go all in, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that like Desmond Bain style trade like the Magic made a week or two ago. That kind of a deal for Portland, where it's another move that takes them potentially even further up what is going to be a very tough Western Conference standings next season. This is a super interesting, it's a strange trade, but it's a super interesting trade, and I can't wait to see more of them as the draft gets closer.
All right, y'all, that wraps it up, man. What do y'all think about this trade, man? Y'all think Jrue Holiday and the Celtics, I mean, y'all think the Celtics cooked? I mean, I definitely think they cooked. They definitely won this trade. They gave up a $30 million contract and just basically said, here you go, Portland, take him. We'll take a good young player from you. Yeah, man, I don't know what Portland was doing here, y'all. I don't know. Maybe they're cooking something else up. I don't know.